We're going to cook dinner together. So I just went to the pantry and I picked up some home canned jarred herb vegetable broth canned roasted potatoes. And I already have the pinto beans soaking. It's almost time to get those cooking. I got a jar of chicken stock and I went ahead and grabbed a bag of teriyaki chicken. So let's put a dinner together. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the Kitchen. So today is my Azure pickup day. So I want to go ahead and get dinner cooked before I go because it is a later pickup. That way by the time we get home, because you know we got to film that Azure pickup, I can have dinner ready when we're ready to eat. So come along. Get your aprons on. Let's get dinner going. Ready? We're doing this. So we're going to go ahead and cook our beans. I have 2 cups of pinto beans in this saucepan with water. And I'm going to be adding just a splash of vinegar. We're going to bring this to a boil. Let it boil for 30 minutes. And then we're just going to let it sit on the stove with the burner off for 1 hour. And then we're going to rinse them, put them back in the pot, and cook it with some chicken broth for 1 hour once it comes to a boil. So I cooked the pinto beans, and there was 2 cups of pinto beans in boiling water for 30 minutes. Turn the stove off and just let it sit on the stove in that vinegar water for 1 hour. Now I'm going to drain it, put the chicken stock in it, and cook it for another hour to make sure those beans are done. So I got the pot of beans, and I made more than what I needed for one meal because a couple days this week I need to carry a lunch with me to work, and I'm going to carry the pinto beans plus whatever else we have left over to work with me. All right. Pinto beans have drained. They are not done. They are still hard. One quart size jar of chicken stock. I am going to season this with some salt. And some pepper. This is going to go back on the stove, come to a boil, and we're going to cook this for 1 hour. Or until the beans are done. We got a baking dish. We'll put avocado oil, just a little drizzle. Now we're going to add our freezer meal of teriyaki chicken. Covering it with aluminum foil. And now this is going to go in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour until the chicken reaches 160 degrees. As for the potatoes, I am going to drain this broth out, but I'm not going to throw it away because it is a vegetable broth with some herbs and some garlic. I am actually going to put this in another jar, label it today's date, put that in the refrigerator. That way if I need to make some gravy, oh, you know what I should have done? I should have used this for the beans. Oh man, I didn't think this through, but that's okay. We're just going to save this for some gravy. But wow, cooking this broth in the beans would have been perfect. I got an empty quart-sized mason jar to drain the broth out. I have a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Now in here I have some garlic that cooked. I'm just going to add that to the broth because that will make a delicious gravy. Picking through the potatoes, make sure I'm not grabbing the garlic. There is no video on cooking these potatoes because I did this before I brought you guys into my kitchen, but it's gonna be so good. And when I need to can some more potatoes, I'll bring you along and show you how I did this. It's very simple. You can look up how to can potatoes. I follow the recommendation on canning potatoes, except I used store-bought vegetable broth. I bought a case of Pacific vegetable broth from Azure, and I just used the broth instead of water. And then I put some Italian seasoning in here. Oh, it's so delicious. Okay, perfect. All right, let me get this in the refrigerator. So I have it labeled broth, today's date, and this can go in the refrigerator. And we have to make sure we use this within 7 days. If not, we can also put this in the freezer and keep it for about 3 to 6 months. Now the potatoes, I like using just a Parmesan cheese on top. So I got a wedge of my favorite Parmesan cheese from my favorite company. This is a California Premier Parmesan cheese. It's in a wedge. I buy it from Azure Standard. Our beans are boiling. I'm going to just put the lid on just so it has a place to vent so it doesn't boil over. I'm going to turn it down to a medium low, and we're going to cook that for 1 hour. Potatoes are done. They're cooked because we canned those, but I am going to put some Parmesan cheese on it. And just so you know, cheese freezes beautiful. Don't think that you have to buy a good quality cheese and eat it like before it goes bad. Just stick it in your freezer, and that way when you order from Azure Standard, you can get the very good price break by buying in volume, and just keep it in your freezer. That way you have cheese at the ready. I did take this out of the freezer for 2 hours. Just let it come up to room temperature just so I can just grate it up very easily. We love cheese here. And I don't need to add any salt or pepper because the potatoes were already cooked with salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, and a really good quality vegetable broth. So we're going to have to take the chicken and add a cornstarch slurry to the juices in there from the teriyaki sauce. And when we do that, that's when we're going to put the potatoes in the oven just to warm them up and melt this delicious cheese. And just like that, we have dinner. Today is the day that we're going to thank our past self, having freezer meals or ready to cook meals or canned ingredients, so that this dinner just came together super easy. The only ingredient that took the longest and the more hands-on was the beans. I did have to do a fast soak where I cooked the beans in the vinegar water for 30 minutes and let it sit for an hour, and now I got it cooking again. So that's going to take the longest. But the chicken, we already had the marinade, had it in the freezer, ready to go. The potatoes we already had canned that I did long before I brought y'all into the kitchen, but we had shelf and freezer ready meals. that all we had to do is just bring all the ingredients together and have it ready. So we're just waiting on the chicken and waiting on those beans. Just filling up my cornstarch. This is to make the slurry to go into our teriyaki sauce. All right, waiting on the beans, waiting on the chicken. Haven't put the potatoes in the oven yet. The beans have been cooking for about 30 minutes, and I decided I want to go ahead and flavor them up a little bit. So I'm putting about a half a cup of diced onions and a diced jalapeno. Now, you know that when you're dicing a jalapeno and it gets on your fingers and you touch your face, it's going to burn. So I'm going to show you a trick that I use to kind of almost eliminate that burning sensation on my fingers. So I hold the knife in my right hand. I'm right-handed. And in my left hand, I just have a cheap sandwich bag. That way my hand is not touching the pepper. I'm going to remove the seeds and the innards. Just take a spoon. I am trying not to touch it with my right hand at all. Okay, so my right hand only held the knife and the spoon. My left hand had a sandwich bag on it that protected me. I'm going to put this in with the beans. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the onions. And just out of precaution, I will be washing my hands. Now we're going to go ahead and stir those vegetables in with the beans. Lid is back on it, but it's slightly tilted just so that it won't boil over. Let's go ahead and check on the chicken. Oh, that smells so good. We're going to go ahead and check the temperature. And we're going to go in through the side. Make sure we're not piercing it out. Okay, we are well above 180. We are done. All right, so the cornstarch slurry is just going to be cornstarch. We're going to do about 2 teaspoons. And we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of water. Pour that inside, give it a little swish. And now this is going to go back in the oven until that teriyaki sauce thickens up. And now we're going to go ahead and add our potatoes. We're going to let that cook for about another 15 minutes and then dinner should be ready. Beans are almost there, but not quite. Okay, Dinner is ready. As soon as it was done, I ran and picked up the Azure order. As you can see, some boxes right there. Some of the things we already put in the freezer, but don't worry, I'm going to bring you along when we do the Azure haul. But dinner is done. The husband and I already ate. So let me show you what everything looked like. And it is so good. So the pinto beans were delicious. I need to put that in a bowl and put this in the freezer. Our teriyaki chicken, which we've already eaten in. And as you can tell, when you put that cornstarch slurry, it thickens up. Beautiful. So good. Our Parmesan crusted home canned roasted potatoes, always delicious. So I need to put all of this in the refrigerator because you know the husband and I don't mind leftovers, so this will be great for tomorrow. But I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me in the kitchen today while we got dinner done. And if you don't mind, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you would, please subscribe. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything cleaned up, and then I need to start showing you the Azure haul on the next order. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family.